This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 202 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. This tip is sponsored by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find them at kppusa.com. Enjoy today's tip. This is Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and you're listening to Horse Tip Daily. Well, on today's tip, we go back to one of the finest horse photographers in the world, and we chat about photography. And I have had people ask me, well, why do we do photography? Because most horse people love to take pictures of their horses, and we all want to learn to do it better. And that's why I thought I'd go to the top and bring in our expert, Scott Trees. Scott brings us another tip on his series in horse photography. Scott is known worldwide for his images of the horse. He has a unique perspective and a whole lot of talent. He's been practicing his craft for over 36 years, and I just love talking to him. That's one of the other reasons I love having him back on a regular basis. He does a variety of commercial shooting, from agricultural to fashion and photojournalism. But the thing he loves the most is horses, and that's what I think he does the best as well. And we'll get to Scott's tip right after we mentioned our friends at Kentucky Performance Products, right down the road from here in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, let's hear from them, and then we'll be back with Scott. Not every horse needs a supplement, and selecting the right supplement for your horse can be a science. Kentucky Performance Products simplifies your search for the right supplement, and they provide products that are scientifically developed to address the specific problems facing modern horses. Their website and customer service people can give you detailed information on each supplement, helping you find the right solution to your horse's problem. You can trust Kentucky Performance Products supplements to provide the ingredients you need in effective amounts so your horse gets the most out of each scoopful. Kentucky Performance Products, helping you keep your horses healthy, sound, and competitive. Visit them at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com. Well, hi, Scott, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily.
Hi, Glenn. How are you doing today?
Good. We appreciate you. You've taken the time to do many, many tips with us, and I wanted to tell everybody that these tips are not time sensitive. You can go to our website at Horse Tip Daily, and you can, on the left-hand side, there's an experts drop-down menu. Just look up Scott Trees, go there, and you can go back and listen to all of Scott's tips. They're relevant now and next year. So,
well, good. Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is just basic stuff I think everybody needs to know to improve their work.
And right now we've had, this is our 10th tip that we've done with you. We really have a primer course on photography going here.
Well, we're working at that. I mean, that's a good thing, because there's so many people now that are wanting to take pictures, and it's within the reach of a lot of people that couldn't have done it before. And so, I know there's lots of questions out there.
Well, go back and listen to all the previous episodes with Scott's tips as well, right on our website. So what do we have for us today?
Well, I want to talk today, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I photograph a black horse? And it's going to extrapolate from that a little bit about trying to shoot inside arenas. Not that the two are the same, but they're questions that I get that basically kind of tie in back to what we talked about last time about exposure and understanding how your camera works. And basically, what we all do when we're taking pictures is that we're basically photographing reflected light. And so if you think about, white horses reflect more light, dark horses are going to absorb more light, and you have to compensate for that loss of light somehow. And so one of the things that you do with a darker horse is that you override your exposure a little bit. And this can be happening by, most cameras have what they call exposure compensation, where you can go up +1, +2, +3. And especially for people that, as we discussed, a lot of people shoot on auto. And all cameras for auto are designed to give you some detail in the shadows, but not blow out your highlights, and they average that out. And most times what happens with people is they either find that their black horse comes back way too blown out with the background and everything around it's too blown out for the camera to compensate for that black horse, or vice versa. The horse is too dark. And so one of the nice things about the digital age, in the film days, we might have to take Polaroid tests for a subject like that, where we try and figure out the exposure and see what the balance is. In today's digital world, you can just take a quick shot and say, okay, well, let me see if I have to open up or close down a little bit. But most black horses, it's what you set them out against. A black horse is going to look good against a blue sky. A black horse is going to look good against the grass, as long as there are not too many shadows. What happens a lot of times is people will set up black horses in front of trees with lots of shadows, and the horse is in the shadow if you don't expose it properly. So that's when it gets back down now to what we talked about earlier of understanding how exposure works. And one of the things too that most black horses, because people will say, well, gosh, my horse, there's a little bit of red in this. My horse is black. And if he's been outside at all in the sun, he's not black. He's going to have some red tint to him. And that's one of the things that I've had, people have had to explain. Now, look, you understand that this horse has got a little bit of red in his coat, and you can get rid of it in Photoshop very easily, but with a desaturation filter. But nonetheless, it's mainly just for most black horses, people are going to have to open up their exposure a little bit to keep the detail in the shadows and the exposure proper.
All right, that sounds good.
Now, we're going to take along from that. One of the other questions I get asked a lot about is people go to horse shows and they're inside arenas.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem.
And arenas are not easy to shoot in. I mean, most arenas are lit for television. And so video cameras can get by with a whole lot less light than still cameras can.
Yeah, we were over here. I don't know if you've been to it yet, but the new indoor arena at the Kentucky Horse Park is absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. And the light is perfect for when you're sitting there watching, and it's just great, and you can see real well till you try and take a picture.
Right.
And then it's all blurry.
Well, and see, but the other reason that video doesn't need to have as much light is because it doesn't have to freeze motion. It's recording motion.
Right.
So, obviously the way the show photographers get around it is most of them will use flash. And, I'm not going to try and get into the whole elements of using flash, but that's one way to overcome the problem. And most of today's cameras, the flashes work very well, automatically with the camera to give you good exposure. But a lot of photographers are pretty owly about letting, use flash over the ring because it can scare the horses and et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times, too, you see one of the things you often see in big events in coliseums where the lights go down, you see all these gazillions of little flashes going off on these little bitty handheld cameras.
Yeah, and are they doing anything?
No, the effective range of those flashes is 10 feet.
So when you're at the concert, that really doesn't help having the flash
Right, what
going?
you get when you come home is you got a great shot of the people in front of you, the back of their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so
we've all done it, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But one of the things that it determines your camera's ability to record in light, there's a setting on your camera called the ISO, which it used to be called ASA in the film days for relating to the speed of the film. And now what you have is your ISO relates to the speed or the sensitivity of your sensor.
Where do I find that?
Well, most cameras will have a little setting that says ISO. It's either on your menu feature under settings.
Oh, okay.
Or it's actually a dial on the camera itself.
Okay.
And on your ISO settings, a lower number needs more light and gives you better detail. As you increase your ISO, you increase your noise or your grain factor. That ISO lets you shoot at much lower light levels, but the payoff for that is that it's going to get real grainy looking. They call it noise in the digital world. Now, the problem, and it's a problem that everybody runs into. You have to, many of these coliseums, most of the cameras come up to ISO 1600 to 3200, and some of the brand new cameras will give you 25,000, which it's amazing because how it gives you amazing sensitivity with the noise of about 3200. But there's just no way around it that you're going to have grain in those shots, and you'll notice it when you take them big. Again, for the internet, it's not going to be that big a deal. But if you're trying to do it for a magazine or those kinds of things, you'll notice that it doesn't look real sharp, and there's really no way around it. But the higher ISO that you do, and this is again where we talked earlier about those faster lenses. So a 2.8 lens can work better in a low light level of an arena than a 4.5 lens. It doesn't need as much light. And so there's no real easy solution to it unless it's a really bright arena. Angle of motion, again, is one of those things, like we mentioned before, you can get by with a slower shutter speed. And it's just one of those things that, it's not easy to shoot in these arenas today, but that's the best thing that you can do.
No, okay, so that'll help, and I found that on my camera here, and it's in the settings, menu settings, actually.
Well, and for most things, like, you can adjust your ISO to 100 or 200 for most things. If it's shooting later in the afternoon, around sunset, you can bump it up to 400. But a lot of people say, well, I just keep my ISO at 3200 and leave it there. Well, you're going to find that your pictures are going to be extremely grainy when that happens. I mean, again, the higher sensitivity lets you shoot faster shutter speeds and greater depth combinations, but the trade-off is grain or noise.
Yeah, mine's actually set to 100 right now.
Well, that's a good place for it to be. But if it's like a cloudy day and you're trying to shoot, then you can bump it up to 400. There's not a whole lot of difference in the noise factor between 100 and 400.
Okay, now I got this other question for you. I've been meaning to ask you because it saved me looking at my book. Plus, if I looked at my book, nobody else would know the answer either.
Right.
I got this AF/MF button that has an unlock and a lock position. Have any idea what that is on the Fuji?
So what's it called?
It's let me hold on. You know that age thing we were talking about?
Yeah, you got to get
out my reading glasses.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I hate that.
AF as in Frank and MF as in Frank. AF/MF.
Oh, autofocus and manual focus.
Is that what that is?
Yes. Yeah, that's what that is. Some cameras will let you. I mean, some people. The autofocus cameras are going to, depending on how you set them, might not be focusing on what you want to focus on. So you can set that to manual focus and then focus it like you would the old film days when you had to,
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to play with that too.
But see, if you flip it on manual and forget to put it back on auto and your pictures start coming back blurry, you'll know why.
That's what's going to happen to you now. And then I'm going to think about it where he told me that.
And then you're going to go to your eye doctor and he's going to say, "I just can't see my pictures. They're just not sharp enough."
That's right. They're all blurry.
Yeah, they're all out of focus. Well, here's why.
Well, thank you for that anyway. All right, Scott, where you know what? People can find out more about Scott at Trees, that's TREES media.com. And, I assume that you're looking forward to another great year in 2010. Will you be coming in for the World Equestrian Games, do you know?
I think so. I'll be over in Dubai, but I'm reasonably sure I'll try and get over for that.
Well, that'll be great.
Yeah, no, I would like to see that for sure.
Well, if you do come over for that, obviously, we do the World Equestrian Games radio show as well as eventing and dressage and all of those. So we'll be covering that and doing daily shows every day from the World Equestrian Games. You've covered them before, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love to get you on some night to get your perspective on how it's going and from your end and what you think compared to other years.
I'd love to do that. I'll stay in touch with you about that.
Yeah, maybe a little commentary or something.
Yeah, no, I would be glad to do that.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be
Absolutely.
super. All right, Scott. Well, thank you very much. And people should stop over to your website and purchase some prints.
I hope so.
Okay, thanks.
All right, bye.
Well, thanks again to Scott for joining us. Scott's not around very much. He's traveling over in Europe and the Far East and the Middle East a lot. So we get him when he comes back into the United States to record some tips for us, and we really appreciate the fact that he does that. And don't forget that you can subscribe to the show through iTunes or Zune and get your daily tips automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. Also, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Horse Tip Daily. We appreciate that. And also on Twitter at Horse Radio. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the network. I think there's 8 now. That's at horseradionetwork.com. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.